Hello, everybody, and welcome to the round 3 player ratings live on the Blue Broad YouTube channel. I'm Terry. This is Pom. We are back, and the player ratings are proudly brought to you by Doing a Bit. So please see the link in the description. Check them out. And Pommy, Sunday night live stream. This is great.
Mate, it's what we're made for. I love these. These are my favourite point because it's a little bit of a discussion point, and I am the only person in the world who knows the comparisons. Trust me, that there is some stark differences this week. So we haven't fallen out yet. There's going to be a point we do, I reckon, though. But I'm looking forward to this because what's beautiful about our game is it's made up of 922,000 different opinions. And there's probably somewhere between all of them, there's the right one.
Yeah, it's so true. And you can't get them all right. And that's why we've opened this up. So what I've done is I've poured a chamomile tea. Shout out. This is a very special mug to me. Poured a tea, Sunday evening. We're going to go through each player together with you in the audience. And we're going to grade the players out of 10. Maybe we should give some context around how each of us do the grading. So the way I've always done it is I look at each player, what I expect from them and how they performed based on what I expect. I probably come from the lens of a little bit more emotional. Definitely had a little bit more emotion in my everyday being. But yeah, I love giving out of 10. And for those of you that didn't like the fact that I gave out 10s last week, you won't be happy because I've got a couple more. I've got a couple more to give out tonight. But the beauty of having you all in the audience is that you can help adjust the final score. So once we get a final agreed vote or rating for each player, we will tally them in the table, and we'll use these to come up with the Blue Abroad Player of the Year. So, Pommy, before we start, how are you feeling, asleep and a day after last night or yesterday afternoon?
Well, I mean, how bad can you feel when you win? Is my question. Obviously, I don't think there's anyone in the world who's watched that game and gone, Jesus, this is a vintage performance.
Correct.
Like, if you did, you probably get excited by Stoke away to Leicester. But end of the day, they're winning. And the way I look at it, and this is a real important point that hits home, and I've spoken to a few people who know more than me in the industry tonight and this afternoon. And I think the big takeaway from me, people have got to realise, is the two inadequacies last year for the Blue Boys was their ability to score from intercepts, which they're now the second highest intercepting side in the comp, but also being able to maintain and come back in the fourth quarter, which they've done 2 times. Technically, question mark over the third against Richmond, they held on. So, I mean, there is definitely development in that area. Obviously, it's nowhere near the level, but I'll end with this. This time last year, I watched my round 3 review, right? And the fact I had clothes on is amazing how excited I was. I tell you, I watched it and I was like, I miss this, Pommy. I miss you. But I would say we've been 6 out of 10 so far this season, and we've pretty much got the same results apart from a draw instead of a win. So that kind of excites me a little bit because it was probably a 20 out of 10 this time last year. It's beyond our expectations.
Yeah, for sure. We're not playing anywhere close to what our best looks like yet. We haven't lost a game yet. And there's that famous saying, winning is not the only thing that matters, but it is certainly the most important. So whatever that means. All right. So what we'll do is we'll start the conversation. Let's get these.
I've ordered them for you.
Oh, you're too good. Oh, Pommy, you're too good. So we're going to go through the players as they were named. We're going to say a little bit about them, and somewhere in the discussion we'll come up with a vote. I've got the table next to me here on the left. So if we need to make adjustments, we will. So starting with the way the team was named, we'll start with Jacob Weitering. Pommy. 5, I gave him a 7. You guys in the audience, let us know your thoughts. Weeders, how did you see his game?
It was okay, I would say. I mean, Jesse Hogan, I wasn't too sure if he was still a professional footballer, but I knew in the first 10 minutes he was still here. I mean, Weitering was good without being spectacular, and I think 5 or a 6 for me. I was in between both of them. I was like, is it a 6? Then I thought, you know what, Pom, your rule is top 4 side. So this is my legislation for why he didn't get a 6, which for me is above average. It's purely his distribution. I don't feel that Weitering used the ball as cleanly and as bold as I'm used to seeing him do. I thought he was solid. He got beaten only a couple of times. Do you know what I mean? But end of the day, I'm expecting near perfection. I'm sure Weitering will say that's not in the top 100 of his games.
Yeah. I thought early on, lost his way a bit on Jesse Hogan, very early on. And it's always been an interesting point with him whenever he gets a couple kicked on him. It's happened in his career, especially early on. And I remember listening to him speak about how he would deal with that and not let it affect him for the rest of the game. So I was really curious to see how many more Hogan would pile on for the game. I thought the big feature of his game yesterday was his intercept marking. Really strong contested marks, which I hadn't seen too often or too consistently over the first few games, but that was good to see. And then a few skill errors. There were a few skill errors. The one thing I looked at with this game, and we've spoken about it before, it's all good to make a mistake, but it's how you're making the mistake. And I actually think for the most part, a lot of these skill errors, we're going to get to some of the other names as well, but some of these kicks, they were trying to go for the risky kick, trying to pull it off. So I can almost wear that. And also, I think I just gave him a few extra bonus points because he was part of a back 6 that continues to be solid. So I don't even need why I said so much about him there. We've got a lot of plays to get through. But again,
no, it's all right. Hey, it's a good discussion. I think 6 is probably fair. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy with 6 if you are. And
I'll come to a 6.
Chat seemed to say 6 as well. Yeah. So, I mean, back him in.
I like that. I'll go to a 6. All right. Louis Young is next. 7s and 6s. Solid enough. I didn't notice him too much, to be honest, in a good way. I didn't take too much. I mean, I sat home and watched it. I didn't take too many notes. I thought he really lifted in the fourth quarter, though.
Well, you see, for me, if you've only had one good quarter, you only get you get a bonus mark in the fourth, because let's be honest, the other 3 quarters are absolutely pointless in these type of games. Do you know what I mean? Like, absolutely pointless. I thought in the fourth, when we needed someone, he was always there. And you know what? I was thinking about giving a 7, and Ryan and Mel spot on. His intercept game was very sexy, but out of nowhere, after 3 quarters and a half, he gave me the double-fisted spoil. So as per the rules, he loses a mark no matter how good he is. So 6 I thought was fair, because I will drill that out of him by giving him horrible ratings.
By the end. I like it. Seems to be a 7 and 6 in the audience for the most part as well. I don't see anything higher or lower than a 7 or 6. So I think we're there or thereabouts. Next up, yes, Nic Newman. Come at me, 10 police. Come at me. He was outstanding. Outstanding.
If you haven't given this bloke a 10, shit the bed. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I'm harsh, evidently, compared to Terry. Like, I've actually started questioning, do I even like these players with some of my ratings? And I thought I loved them. But I mean, honestly, he's absolutely butchered Toby Green. Absolutely butchered him. And you know what? I'm going to give him this. Something that Plowman does that annoys me. See Jamie Elliott when I quit the show 2019. He can get ahead of the guy, but then there is always a moment that class will out. Toby Green had that late. He had that goal, and there was probably a moment where you thought, oh, fuck, we've been here before. Toby Green's going to get up and about. Next contest, straight to Toby Green. This guy gets the spoil in, then knocks him out of the way, gets the ball and handballs it off to Ollie Hollands. And I was like, wow, this guy, man, he lost once and he wasn't letting it happen again. 10 out of 10 all day.
Yeah. Had the ultimate focus. He's had a really good season. And I mean, he's a player that doesn't get spoken about as much as the others. He actually does a lot for the club as a clubman. You know, he's not just a solid footballer, helps out with the W program. From all reports, he's just a great fit for the culture, a great cultural player. And these types of job doers don't get as much of a rap as some of our other big, you know, higher profile names, if you will. But make no mistake, his performances over the start of this season have really, really skyrocketed him at the forefront of the attention. He's been excellent.
Mate, no one's clamped a green up at a
Yeah.
football game since, you know, Toby Green's dad got arrested. So, I mean, fair play to him.
Yeah. All right. 10s across the board. Love it. Next up, Mitchie McGovern. I went for 8. You went for 7. What do you all think at home? Pommy, how'd you see his game?
This one was a tough one, this, right? Because if I judged him on his game of how he actually, what he's there for, intercept marking, it's probably about a 3, right? Because, I mean, this guy spilled more catches than 90s England in the Ashes. But tell you what, he made up for it. Pressure acts, tackling. Some of them tackles are ridiculous as well. Do you know what I mean? His body on body contact. Where Weitering fell down and young, this guy stepped up big style. Yeah. So I've got to give him the kudos for, might not be your job, but I'll tell you what, you did it when you needed to. So I gave him a 7. I like Mitch. Do you know what I mean? We have a love-hate relationship, but I like him now.
Yeah. So I was watching in the living room, and I have like a futon at the front where I rest my legs up, and I was sitting up for this, and I found myself one of the first few games with Mitch, and in terms of how I've experienced his game, where I just loved a lot of what he did. Found myself slapping the futon, screaming out his name. Just some really crucial moments. I thought his first 2 kicks of the game were exceptional. There was one real bullet to Doc. Then there was another one where he switched the play, went across the field to Akers. He just executed it brilliantly, and it just showed his mental application and intentions for the day. And I just thought, yeah, some really important moments. Big tackle on Toby Green in the second. Then he had a moment where we've seen it a few times. Brilliant intercept mark, not so good with the kick. That was in the second or the third, I think it was. A few smothers that I liked. I just loved his intent all day, and he's getting better each week this season so far. He looks to have a little bit more better touch, and I still think he's got another layer to go with his confidence in the role. But look, I'm grateful for 3 straight games for Mitch. I think the other crucial moment with him was the knee knock. Usually that's a moment, your heart's in your mouth, you're thinking, okay, what's this going to be? But maybe it was a change in the fortunes, and he'll be okay.
I will say, if I was judging him on actually having cojones with the ball, this guy's a 10. Yeah. Because I tell you what, some of the other guys who we've mentioned today maybe need to look at this guy who takes the game on a little bit, because that is definitely a weak area. So, yeah, 7 might be harsh. Do I care? Not really.
No, it's there or thereabouts. All right. Interesting one coming up. Sammy Doc. I gave him a 10. You gave him an 8. He was frustrating early. I felt the volume of what he did overall is what got him across the line. But on second thought, I am open to moving this down to a 9. Just thought he was great.
He was good. Very good. Go back and watch the first quarter, though. I'd say 4 of his touches got us under the cosh. I'm going to be honest. I do a rolling rating. By about half time, this guy was a 5. He built late, though. And there's a rule, isn't there? Pom has a rule that when you play well in the fourth, you get some bonus points, and he got his bonus points. I thought in the midfield, he probably won us the game. We'll come on to the guy he replaced in the midfield, because, spoiler, he gets an absolute coshing. But this guy here, he won us the game because someone had to move the ball forward. So he was superb. He was superb from then on. Just the big thing for me that at the start of the game, it's the first quarter is equally as important as the fourth. I might add a caveat, but he has that tendency to not be bold and take the real safe option. And Saad was affected by this, because if it had gone into Saad's hands, I think that first quarter may have been a little bit different, because he looked to attack the game. But it was a great game. It was a great game. I mean, 39 touches. Jesus. Like, we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah. I just looked at his game and Cripps' game, who we'll get to later. Both of them littered with a bit of inefficiency, but the willpower and the leadership in the fourth, I put a bit more gravity on that. And I really thought they drove it home. And in a game where skill and execution seemed to be off for us, we had to win a different way. We had to sort of will ourselves over the line, which, there's discussion around whether or not we should even have been in that position, but we were. So, yeah, I just thought he's just work rate to get around the ground. I don't know what his numbers were in terms of how much ground he covered, but yeah, I liked what I saw. What do we got in the audience? 8s, 9s, 8s, 9s, 8s, 9s, 110. All right.
I'm happy to come up if the audience are.
I'll go.
All
right, I'll give him a 9. Let's enter that as a 9 and move on. That's Doc.
I can't believe an 8 is considered harsh. Like what world am I living in?
I know. Next up, Saad, 8 and 6. Pommy, Adam Saad's game.
This is a bit like him the other week when I downgraded him. Club's got to use him in this situation. Yeah. This is why Weitering got punished. Weitering looks for Doc 9 times out of 10 with the ball. Does my head in. Because at times, this guy's got to be given the ball, given to be excel him, use your skills. And for me, it was a very good game when he had the ball. I just felt like he didn't get involved enough for me. And I think when we're under the cosh, this is the main man. This is the guy that I want to see take the game on. So for me, it was a solid game. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't excited. I won't look back at this and remember this game from Adam Saad. So I thought 6 was fair.
Yeah. He has we say this a lot. He has an ability. A lot of them do actually in this team, in this group, has an ability to lift the floor of his game, if that makes sense. So like the minimum standard of what he gets. I'm with you. I was hoping to see us use him a bit more. He ends up having the ball 23 times, goes at, 87% disposal efficiency. He had one clanger in the game. Yeah, I just thought he was reliable. And yeah, so 7.
You think if you swap him with Saad, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you swap him with Doc. Doc had 39 touches. You added a 9 of these with his efficiency. Total different ball game. So this is a punishment, Saad, for your teammates. You're a 10. Your teammates bring you down.
Yeah. The Ramadan point is also an interesting one. We spoke about that last week. 7s in the audience. I see 3 7s, 4 7s. I see a 6. I see a 7. I see a 9. Okay, we'll go to 7. I like that. All right. 7 for Saad in the end. Next up, Ollie Hollands. 5 and 6. Pass mark, just above. He was I think his game was, I don't know if it was defined, but he had a moment, didn't he? He had to go, and he did. He did well.
Oh, mate. Well, it's not often you see me, someone in the chat goes, Pom's always well under Terry. Sometimes Pom goes over Terry. You know I'm a sucker for a wingman, but 13 touches, 93 efficiency. Do you know what I mean? 2 intercepts, one of them intercept mark, 3 marks, 4 tackles. 3 ground ball gets, do you know what I mean? 2 score involvements, 4 inside 50s, just under 400 meters gained. For me, I thought for a first-year player in his 3rd game, give him a little bit more because you know what? When you see Akers and you see this kid, you actually see what proper wingmen are about. And this was more of a defensive game. The defensive running this kid does as well. He makes Akers look average as well, how far he tracks back for his team. So, for me, if he does that 23 games, do you know what I mean? There's no one at this football club that's close to coming into it.
Yeah. And, there's been a lot of discussion for years around the wings, and obviously Lachie O'Brien's owned that for a large portion, and Cottrell. And I think there's been a criticism around the wingman not being strong enough in the contest. And I just, that moment with Ollie, he was not in the best position. He had to ride a bump and take a hit. Thought he did. I think little moments like that, you want to reward that behavior. And it just goes to show, just because you're a wingman, just because you have a little bit more of a slider body doesn't mean you can't attack the contest hard. And I think, I guess, I don't think because I don't know, but I guess they'd be really talking that up. And yeah, it's a solid start from him. I like him. I like him a lot.
If you remember that science lesson I gave you all, round 1, about how inertia works, and people saying he was lightweight and saying that it was the difference between having an action men thrown at you from a pace away. Starting to see it now, aren't you? It doesn't matter your size, it's how you use your body. And tell you what, this kid here, he's got something about him, old Ollie. I like this kid.
I like it. So I see sixes. I see a lot of sixes. Okay. I see a 7. I see another 7.
Come on, Terry, be kind. He's a folk hero, this kid.
I know. I've come to kill a kid. All right. That's a 6.
Absolutely slating the boy.
No. Sorry, Ollie. Sorry. I thought you were great. Next up, Cripps. Love it. Love it. You've given the tax, and fair enough. Cripper, he was I think he accepted the challenge yesterday with Tom Green. That's how I saw it.
Mate, this guy, just saying it now, I know I joke Charlie Curnow is the best player in the, which he probably is the best player in the world, but the best midfielder by Flemington Straits is this guy. And you know what? Might have only given him a 9. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? Because 10's near perfect for me. I think this version of Cripps turns me on more than any other version. Keep your Brisbane Cripps, your T Cripps, whatever other Cripps you've got. This Cripps here, this leader, the man who bollocks his midfield. Do you know what I mean? The lip reading of that, hanging him out to dry. I love that little lip read someone did on that little, this is the Cripps that I want. No show pony Cripps, the man who believes he's got men with him now. No longer little boys around him, they're men, and he trusts his men. Absolutely froth this. I would have given a 10, but honestly, at times I didn't know if Cripps was taking the piss with his kicking. But aside from that, absolute impeccable game from our boss.
Yeah. It was a case of the volume of the ball that he generated, the volume of it pushed him up. I loved a few things. I loved his quarter time address to the group. I love that. I think he's already starting to show signs of evolution, development, and I love the matchup of him and Tom Green. Tom Green, he's one of my favorite players outside of Carlton. Well. Pardon?
He held his hand all game. If you watch Tom Green, evidently his tag is just holding your hand.
Yeah.
Cute.
So it was good to see Cripper just, flex a little bit. That's how I saw it. And then his fourth quarter, I wrote willpower a lot with him, and that's how I saw his game. I think up until halftime he had 8 score involvements. He had a moment in the fourth which would have really iced it with a shot on goal which he missed. But at the end of the day, his willpower in this game was just immense. It really was. And what do you have in the end? 42. 42, 2 behinds, 20 contested possessions, 13 clearances.
Guys are free.
7. Yeah, it was one of those. It was one of those games. Yeah, that's what it was. So
I said it last time I was on it. He's the best football player in the world. I don't know why he's laughing for. Chris, why are you laughing for?
I'm happy to come up to a 10 if chat is. Maybe I was stiff. I'm happy.
No, you're not. But no. I like that you called it out because he would demand it of himself, first and foremost.
If he give me 2 goals on top of that performance, and Jesus, but yeah, do you know what I mean? I'm looking for perfection, but if it was leadership, I'd give him 10 because the little bum taps. He one thing that no one's talked about, Ollie Hollands went there, got that stoppage. He was straight over, tapped him on the bum. Do you know what I mean? Little things like that from your leaders go a long way, and I tell you what, I enjoyed it. But yeah, for me, I'm expecting perfect from Cripps. I'm expecting Jesus-type football, but he was pretty good. He was very good.
He was. All right, next up, Blake Acres. Bit of a talking point around this. We both gave him 9s. Obviously, we both saw his game really well. Maybe you touch on Blake's game.
How good are wingers when they're actually proper wingers?
Yeah.
Just quietly. Let's be honest, chat. We hated... We used to have anyone at wingers. Do you remember the times we used to do this show and people were like, what about Dow on the wing? And Pom lost his mind. Now you see why. Like, this guy he is bona fide. I love what he's about. Strong. Probably game style. It was probably somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8. The fact he played 3 quarters with a blatant cooked shoulder. Bravery stands out for me. 1, you get an extra bonus point. But strong to the ball. I think the biggest thing about this kid, the biggest thing about this gentleman is ground balls, tough ball. You shouldn't have to do it as a winger. And we always say, don't judge players on contested possessions. Sometimes, though, football's not rocket science. It's not a script. Sometimes you've got to do it. Sometimes you've got to do it. And I'll tell you what, both him and Hollands, not once shirk from that responsibility. And you know what? Blake Acres, top footballer. I love the kid.
Yeah, I think he earned a lot of respect with this game. He was clearly hindered from the first few minutes of the game, and then the very first contest that he went back into when he went on the field was that one on the goal line, and he spoiled it over the line for a rush behind, I think it might have been, and landed really awkwardly. And yeah, I was bracing for the sub, and I think once in the broadcast when they said Carlton have made the sub, at that point I wasn't aware that Matt Owies had done his hamstring, so I was expecting it to be Acres. So yeah, well done for him to be able to battle it out. Now, the other piece is he's been given a week. And I watched it again. It may have been a little clumsy, which is where I can maybe kind of see the careless grade. The medium impact is the one where I think, like, it's a technicality, I know, and there's a narrative around, well, let him get his shoulder right and take the week and whatever. But do we fight it? Do we leave it? I don't know. But the way I saw it, it shouldn't have been medium impact, because I thought Griffin Logue's contact in his bump, the one that he got a week for, was a lot more vicious than what this bump was. Like with Blake, like he really tucked in his arm and tried to avoid it and tried to show something to avoid it, but we'll see how it plays out.
Interesting one, isn't it, to be honest? I mean, based on Keziah Pickett's 3 weeks for recreating 90s WWE, Brett Daniels should probably get 3 weeks for taking the contact from Blake Acres if you compare them. Do you know what I mean? They should flip the fine. Weird one. But, I mean, if he's injured, do you know what I mean? I don't see the point of wasting company resources. But,
True.
Do you know what I mean? It depends. Are Carlton going to take that moral high ground?
Fight it so it doesn't have to get exempted from the Brownlow. I like this. I like the way you're thinking. You know what else I've realized about Blake Acres, which I didn't know? I didn't know how strong he really was. And when you look back at last week, that collision with Jeremy Cameron, we probably didn't touch on it enough. He really hurt him. He's a strong body, Blake Acres, and he's just stronger than what I thought he was. And I thought he was excellent. So
tell you what, if you've got this kid lower than an 8, tell you what, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Don't get many wingmen like this. Tell you, guy's big, uses his facets well. Absolutely splendid. Splendid to see a proper wingman at my football club. We know I froth one. I don't have to watch other clubs now. It's good to watch my own, get excited by wingers.
So 9's mostly in the crowd here. I think I'll keep it there. Yeah. So next up is, locked it in. Jesse Motlop. I gave him a 9. You gave him a 7. I thought that was actually the best game he's played for the club, young Jesse, as a total package.
Oh, mate, it was. I enjoyed the game. I don't get me wrong. Enjoyed his game. He was everywhere. Worked hard up and down the ground. Do you know what I mean? The small forwards. Do you know what I mean? What was it? 5 goals, just under 30 touches, 17 score involvements, 7 marks, 8 tackles. But you know what scares me? A team that relies so heavily on the way it defends transition to be its forward pressure, with the number 1 side at getting turnovers in our front half, the second highest scoring side in that area, which people keep talking about transition defense. Media have mentioned it a few times this week already. No idea, though, of how we defend transition, because it has worked and scored 2 times. With the lowest side in tackles inside 50. And that is where I'm looking for Mots. Do you know what I mean? Him and Owies were the number 2 per game this time last year. So still got to do that. I love his role there. Still don't neglect that. There was a few times that I didn't quite like it. But tell you what, he was good. I'm giving him a 7 because I've seen this kid play juniors. There is a 10. And when you see a 10, you're going to be like Eddie Betts, who?
Yeah. Yeah, when I think of Jesse, I'm looking at summarizing it really, really basically, but I look at it and I'm like, anything between 10 and 13, 10 and 14 touches. and a couple of goals. And I don't know how much more I can ask at this point. I know he's got levels to go. And I thought this was a bit of a, not breakout performance, but a little bit of a breakthrough. I thought the first few weeks he was teetering on something like what he did today. So the big thing is, can he do it next week and continue on? Because if this is the type of level that he can get to consistently, and again, we're talking about a second-year player, so bit of context, but if this is the type of player that we can get him to be sooner rather than later, that 15-ish possession, forward, crafty, that can hit the scoreboard multiple times, that's where the real danger comes for the opposition, because he's got it. He's got some tricks.
He definitely struggled when Owies went off, because I think his role changed then.
Yeah.
Which was a shame, because they're trying to do that defensive axe a little bit more. It was more spread across them. But you know what? Great game. Great day for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, fair. So I see 8s, I see 9s, I see 8s, 7s, a couple of 9s. All right. I think 8. I think we can all shake hands and go to an 8 on that. Let's do that. That's an 8 for Jesse Motlop. Next up, your boy, Charlie Curnow. You know him better than most. Tell me about Charlie, Pommy.
Let's be honest, right? In a game that wasn't for key forwards, I think we can all agree the first quarter, the tolls were poor, were really poor. They really were poor. But he did it when it counted, right? So that has to count for something. But like for me, if you're talking a 7, 8, 9, 10, you're talking about the reigning Coleman. Do you know what I mean? Like a guy that can kick 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 goals a game. This wasn't Charlie's game. And yes, he got the game winner, but if you're handing out 10s for winning a game, fuck me. Do you know what I mean? Mark Murphy wasn't a 10 versus Fremantle. Do you know what I mean? He stepped up, players step up, and he did his job. So for me, if that's his worst game, that's the worst I expect from Charlie. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't his day, but he delivered when he needed to, and basically he got 5 votes pretty much from the last quarter, which shows how good his last quarter was.
Fair. Yeah, his game was interesting. He had to change it up, and we had to play a different way. We spoke about it because of the conditions and the nature of the game. It was going to be a smalls type of day. We did speak about that. I thought, similar to you, I thought his first quarter, I didn't really notice him or Harry, neither of them. And it probably goes to show with how the game was being played out. I think his first real key moment came 13 minutes to go in the second. Good lead on the mark. He missed it. Then he pulls out something. I don't know what that was. It was vintage. You know, they say vintage Charlie Curnow like he's a veteran, but it's really a signature move of his now. That turnaround from the angle on the 50. It was brilliant. And then he started getting into it. Big strong mark in the third, 15:30 to go, I think it was. He missed that one as well. Then, I just felt his work rate around the ground lifted. Took 7 marks. 7 might be a little nice though. I did weight his fourth quarter a bit more. I'm big for match winners, and I don't know how he marked that ball. I watched the replay. I don't know how it fell in his lap, but he read it so well.
I will caveat, if you shift this to look at Saad, if Jesus was kicking to him probably all the time we attacked him, probably a 12, right? Do you know what I mean? Probably a 12, like, because some of his entries he had to deal with were fucking atrocious. But I mean, just shows how much I love him, because I tell you what, a Charlie 10, we don't just win the game. We're talking about he won the match in the second quarter. So it's his job, though. I expect Mr. Curnow, and he did it. He did what we asked last week. Remember last week I said I want him to be like Sticks, demand the ball. Mm-hmm. Watch when he kicked that goal. He actually signals to Cripps, just kick it on my head.
Yeah.
And he's a champion. I love him. 5 we love.
Yeah. You know, what do the crowd say? So what do I see here? I'd
look him in the eye and kiss him and tell him he's still a 5.
I see. All right, here we go. 7, 6.5, 7, 6, 6, 6, 7, 6. Quite a few 6s. All right. Generally, I see 6s. So a 6.
It's what I expect from a large fan base that laughed at me when I said he was going to win the Coleman. So it's all right. Just have faith in the kid. You know what I mean?
We'll come in and meet you halfway. Next up was Matt Owies, who obviously we're not going to give a rating to, but maybe we should just spend a moment talking about him because it's feel for the lad. Feel for the lad. I really do. He's a player that is quickly written off because we're so excited about the prospect of Jesse Motlop and Corey Durdin, and rightly so. But he's just a real professional, Matt Owies. He's got an ability to be in the right place at the right time on transition. He reads angles very well. He's a point guard in basketball, so he sees things very well. You know, his gameplay in other areas need to improve, and we've spoken about that. But, God, the way he started, 2 first-quarter goals, it was really disappointing for him, and it's tough. It's tough. I just hope he can come back and still have that sharpness from this.
People get excited by Durdin because he runs all day and he's everywhere. You can't help but see him. People get excited by Motlop because he's got the secret handshake. It's a bit like a point guard in basketball. He's exciting. Owies, though, just comes in, does his job week on week. Do you know what I mean? And you know what? He's heartbreaking. 23% of the game. You actually saw why this guy was so much... why we're playing 3 smalls. Yep. Why we're playing 3 smalls. You saw it last week in decent-ish conditions. You saw it this week in tragic conditions. That game would have been totally different if we'd had this kid. He was probably a 6. I mean, well, he was probably an 8 before he got injured. He could easily have been a 10 because I reckon he's in great goal-scoring form. He looks like he's got the eye now. So it's a shame. We hope he's not too bad. We hope he's not too bad because I feel like we're going to come on to the guy that replaced his role direct, and it wasn't pretty, was it? And if you watch the VFL, that's also not pretty either. So best of luck, Matty. We love you. Yeah. One of the first who ever appeared on this show, I believe, is the OG, isn't he?
He was the first player interview on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. So, yeah, we do wish him well, and he'll bounce back. Next up, Corey Durdin. Corey Durdin. Jeez. His body has really grown. His strength, the layer of strength is really evident to see with him. He just brings it constantly. Led the team in tackles in this game, 6 of them. Kicked a goal, had the 8 touches. I thought he started off better than what he finished overall. But yeah, I thought he played his role pretty well, and he really does give us some edge, doesn't he?
Yeah, for those who watched the review, I went quite in depth of how Carlton shifted from hemorrhaging about 50% of inside 50s that were transitioned to goals to bringing it down to well below 20. And Durdin and Motlop are very fortunate that we can play them almost as pseudo wingers in defensive transition, and they've got the pace to get back. We're very lucky and blessed that we can do that structurally because it masks some tactical fallacies at times. I loved his game, but we know I'm Team Durdin. Me and Terry are big Team Durdin fans. We were Team Durdin in his draft year. I think there's a lot more for him to give, but again, I look at it this way. Performance-wise, out of 10, that team's probably a 5.5. So it'd be great to give them all 9s. But let's be honest. So I figured that if he tackled harder inside 50, as well as Motlop, as well as Owies, a lot of them transition goals wouldn't have happened. So I've got to downgrade him a little bit. But he did his job. It was a good game.
Fair. Well, 3 tackles inside 50, 39 for the game. That's a little bit low. That's a bit low for what this group is and what it prides itself on. I think overall the pressure was probably not as consistent as what it was last week. And I think at the end of the day, somewhere between, I mean, we average 50 for the year. I know it's 3 games, but I feel like somewhere between 53 and 60 is where we want to be when it comes to team tackles. So yeah, the fact that he laid 6 of our 39, I probably put a bit of sponsors tax on that as well. So
you've got to look at, like, the Demons are leading the way with tackles inside 50. So do you know what I mean? The Demons at the moment are what, 15.7? Sorry, 14
per game
after this game. Yeah, do you know what I mean?
Wow.
They are heavily reliant on it. You look at other top teams. So if we go to the Magpies, they're 10. Carlton are second bottom behind Geelong now. They've updated. So, do you know what I mean? You're looking at these guys to spread the load. I don't mind him tackling in midfield, but that pressure's got to rise. And we're looking at Durds, Owies, and Motlop to bring that. We know what Motlop and Owies are the leaders, clubhouse leaders, but Durds isn't a slouch either. So, get 10s in that small forward area from Pom. I'll tell you what, I've seen some good small forwards, as we all have. Not
True.
quite there yet, but I love it.
I see mostly 7s in the chat. 3, 4, 5. See a couple of 8s. I see a 9. I think 6, 7. All right. I think it's a 7. I'll come down. So Corey will enter that.
I was going to say, I'm happy to go up because you do sponsor him, but okay. Look at that.
I like it. No
Look
bias.
At
It's great.
Twitter,
this is why we do them live.
Do you know what I mean? Twitter, watch this. Look, we're laughing and we're loving each other. We haven't called each other names yet.
Yeah. There is a reality where we can disagree and still get along. It can happen. I promise. All right, Corey Durdin, 7. Next up, Jack Silvagni. Oh, I loved what I saw from Jack Silvagni yesterday. Had a bit of pressure, I would say, from all of us. I think we all were looking at him a little bit and questioning just, a little bit around, hey, Jack, we want to see some impact. And I think from that standpoint, he did exactly what the conversation around him, I think he put it to bed for a week. Thought it was an impressive performance.
This guy, I remember Cooter having a coffee with him and him saying that the hardest thing in the 90s was you used to look at the VFL, you used to look at the reserves and be like, shit, what did they do? Right? And what I liked about Jack is there was definitely a lot of rumours going around, and the way that Carlton have had leaks this year, we've got to take rumours with a little bit more salt than we usually do, to be fair, because someone seems to be blabbing. But the big thing about Jack is he had a lot of pressure on in this game, and I thought as a conduit, impeccable. And we talked about it when we were doing the Martin discussion. Jack Martin gives you the excitement. Jesus, though, gives you your reliability, and he's an incredible conduit. And this was his game. Thank Christ. Please, for the love of God, Voss, if you watch this show like I know you do, never, ever in your life put this bloke in the ruck. Just give him the high half forward role and say it's okay. Jack, be my conduit. Because I'll tell you what, in the fourth quarter, people have missed what he did. His work rate to get back, hit some spoils, really good. And remember, 2017, 18, and 19, right? Remember that, right? Just remember that he was one of the top 5 people at entering inside 50 and creating a score shot. So you've got to remember that. And you vow to answer your question, not sustainable at that quality. I'll answer it in the immortal words of Collingwood's Craig McRae. Might not be sustainable, but who's top 4? So sure, Collingwood as well will say tight games. Does look pretty sustainable, to be honest. It's a myth. Yeah. It's just an Australian myth, that, so you know as well. Australia is the only country in the world where you win tight and evidently doesn't count for anything.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, also we're only talking about this game in isolation.
Oh, superb! So, this is his role. So, Jesus plays this role. Jack Martin isn't on the list. Remember, we had this conversation. One of them won't be. Jack Silvagni does that. Another 19 games. Game over.
Yeah, that's him. That's the standard. Well, yeah, the 9 marks was telling. What do you have? What were his numbers in the end? He ended up having 19 possessions, 9 marks, kicked a goal, 300 odd meters gained. My notes that when I was taking them, I had written here, and I need to watch the replay. I don't remember him losing a contest, like being outmarked. If he didn't win the contest, he made sure to at least halve it, play his role, bring it to ground. And yeah, just looked really sharp. I love the fact that he outmarked Nick Haynes early in the game as well in the first quarter, just to give him that forward craft confidence so we could see that. But yeah, look, I think that's the standard that Jack can be consistent at, that type of game. I really do believe that.
Some of the score involvements as well, insane. Like he had 9 of them. Like some of the things he does as well, there was that little flick over his head. He went for the mark, flicked it over his head, which allowed Motlop to run on. They're little things that that guy there has got that some of the other players wouldn't even think about. Like Jack Martin wouldn't even know what that is. He'd go and buy a hot dog before he'd do that. Like Jesus, lock the position in.
I like it. 8s, 9s, 8s, 9.5, 9, 9. Okay. I think, 9s and 8s. Don't see enough to move that down. So I'm going to keep that one at a 9 for now. Next up, Harry. 4 and 2. Pommy. I think I actually went a little light on Harry as well. Upon reflection on this. You can take this one away.
Well, I mean, it's funny because when we did target Curnow, 3 of the times we targeted him, this guy's spoiled for them. So I feel that's harsh. It did turn into Harry McCasbolt at the first half. I will say second half he presented well, particularly when the chips were down. But, man, part of Charlie's 5 is because towards the end, they started to double team Charlie because he was starting to get their third defender, which is a worry. And that it felt harsh. And I don't know what's wrong with Harry because I've noticed this all 3 games. He's really misreading the lead as well. And I don't know what is going on with that. There was like 3 times that the ball came in at a good height and he set off too early or he's overran it. There was one time as well where he stopped and the ball's landed 5 meters short. It's like he misread it in flight. Don't quite know what's happening, but great. It wasn't great. And you know what? The guy's class though. You can't pan him too much.
No, I'm with you. Look, a 5 for me is a pass mark for the day. I don't think Harry would look at that game and say that he passed the test on the day. He was one of 2 or 3 players who I took no notes for at all. I didn't really notice him. He took a few marks upon reflection, obviously, but just, I mean, this is a classic example of like the expectation of Harry because of how high we rate him. And just hasn't been able to get going. I do like the sound of Friday under the roof. It's a real Harry McKay type environment just to get his confidence going. It's a long season. He's not going to be down for too long. You write him off at your peril type situation. But in this game in particular, just nowhere near. I didn't think nowhere near his best.
The big thing that broke me with Harry was he had the fortuitous shot at goal. You know what I mean? That he got paid. Harry of old would have kicked that. And I could see there was a desperation. John makes a great point. This is the first time we've seen for a long time, Harry and Charlie. It's what we usually compliment them for, leading away from each other. I don't know if I felt like Harry became selfish in the second half and wanted to get involved. And he started to, if you watch his leads, they're not his leads to play. He's actually diverted his course into Charlie, which is why they put the 3rd on, which I don't like. I know Harry's a hungry competitor, but take your medicine. Do you know what I mean? But I'm sure this guy, you know, this guy's always 8 goals away. It's like Erling Haaland. If you go 2 games without scoring, this guy's due a hat trick. So
true.
Won't want to be Ben next week.
Yeah, it's a good point you raised. Now that I think about it, with the 2 of them, well, firstly, we haven't seen them play together consistently enough. So there's that. And this was probably one of those rare games where I remember us talking about them not leading into each other and having a real good synergy amongst each other, but that didn't happen yesterday. They did seem to be both of them at the fall of the ball or leading to the same ball. So
it felt like it was hunger. It felt like it was. I understand it, but it was after he missed.
Yeah,
it really stepped up. It was almost like he was like, "I'm going to get into this contest." Yeah. And I was hoping that like Charlie would turn around and go, "Mate, I'm the Coleman, not you. Piss off." And it never happened.
Yeah, and that's a difficulty to manage. So that'd be a watch this space. But I know Geelong lost today, but the way that they lead the football and their activity in their forward line to generate a lead is really impressive. And that's where I hope we get to, because I think we'll actually open up more scoring opportunities for both of them. And until we do that, we're still, Also, Sam Taylor is a serious defender. And I thought he did an exceptional job.
He did, but it was made easy for him. It was made easy. Do you know what I mean? Like, people underrate GWS. And I said it in my preview. Do you know what I mean? There are we haven't seen them at full strength this year. And Kingsley ain't a mug. And the way they flooded around the ball, etc., was very clever, really helped make the game scrappy. No one gives our opposition respect, but you've got to in this case. And McKay is a bad game, man. Like, do you know what I mean? Two, but
right.
do you know what I mean? And Hawkins, you made him. Hawkins is amazing because he's selfless. He has accepted option 2. It's obvious Cameron's the boss now. And Hawkins, he willingly takes the second fiddle. That's maybe what happens with Carlton. Maybe in Andy Cole, Dwight York, they used to have a rule, first person shot on target is in charge this week. Maybe something like that.
Yeah. All right. Next. So, by the way, I'm going to keep that. I'm going to drop that to a 3 for Harry. So, next up, Tom De Koning. He's coming along. I've seen some things over the last few weeks that I've enjoyed with Tom. I really loved his follow-up efforts last week with his tackling. And this week just seemed to be just trending upwards. Not too much, but enough for me to say, yeah, he's constantly getting better. Pitto also played 54% game time again for the second week in a row. So the opportunities were there for Tom. But yeah, I think he had a really solid game. I liked what I saw.
Thank Christ Voss maybe watches this show and we were demanding, give this bloke a role. Give him a job. And you know what? This job of Pitto, physical, he beats them up. TDK comes and jumps on top of you. He made Flynn look like the Flynn we know and love. Average at best. Because once he was bodied, this guy comes in and he's like a gazelle. I loved TDK's game. 7 is solid for me because I would have liked him to take, I think he had some easy grabs in the forward line. This guy, mark my words, next 3 games, this guy kicks 3 goals in a game. He's flirting with it. They deployed him forward when Harry was obviously struggling. He takes them grabs and kicks them snags. Hey, that rhymes. Tell you what, we're getting a 10. We're getting a 10 from him because this role is him. And you know what? When Flynn was tired, like Ryan and Mel say, he just took the piss. He just tossed Flynn out like he was trash, which towards the end, Flynn did look trash and TDK took it out. I love this combination. Froth it.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I always look for little moments which might mean more than what they really do. So let me know what you think. But there was a ruck contest. He pushed out Flynn. He bodied him out, pushed him out, won the ball, grabbed the ball from the ruck, from the throw-in, I think it might have been, and kicked it forward to Charlie, who missed that shot on goal. And it's just little things like that. I'm like, okay, let's see the next one where he's able to do that to the next ruckman. But yeah, his work at stoppage has been first class, and continues to be first class. And yeah, nothing too outstanding, but also is coming along. And then there's another conversation around Tom, and talk about Harry. Like I was speaking to my brother-in-law about this, and you know, we have Harry, we have Charlie, and there's a notion around: do we want one of them in the forward line and one playing sort of 70 meters from the forward line? And it's like, why wouldn't we have them both in the forward line? Now, the reason is because I don't think we have anyone around the ground that can mark consistently yet. If Tom can add that to his game, we won't need to see Harry 110 meters away from goal with, you know, a relieving mark. So that's where I think we obviously need to be a bit more patient. But Tom's clearly improving. He's clearly coming along.
Tell you what, he's cost me 3 games in a row, my multi. Nearly had $5,000 this week because he's just got to kick a goal, man. Stop giving it off, Tom, if you watch this. Please, just stop giving it off, mate. Be selfish. But I'm with you. And I think, you know, if you're going to go with the JSOS approach as the third, right, this guy just gets them grabs. Tell you what, that is perfect because there you are, you're thrown forward. And I'm looking forward to seeing him going against Grundy, Goldstein, because I think that model is the modern day model. One guy to bruise you, one guy to finish you off. And we saw how he did that against some big name players last year when Pittonet combined with him. Remember the Nankervis game? Pittonet battered Nank, and then this guy came in and hurt them. So I think that's a big thing. I'm looking forward to it. I like TDK doing this when we're not talking about solo ruck nonsense. He's good at this.
I agree. So 7, 8, 8, 3 8s, 3 7s, a 6, 6, 7,
If he
8.
signs this week, I'll go up to an 8, but it stays a 7.
All right. It looks like I'm bringing him back just to a 7. Finalize that. Tom de Koning, 7.
If he signs by next Friday, it's an 8. I'll raise it.
Okay. We'll come back. Could have. Yeah. All right. Next up, Ed Curnow. So just below a pass mark for both of us. Yeah. Obviously not as influential, not in as many contests, or didn't win as much of the ball as last week. I'm not 100% sure on what his role on the day was, if I'm being totally honest. I don't know if he had a more negating role or anything, but yeah, just I didn't feel like that was a pass.
In the words of my nana when she saw my physics report, piss poor, and should have been better. For me, when I look at this, and I'm going to say this is how important Matt Kennedy is, because this week he played Matt Kennedy's role, right? Against Richmond, not quite sure what his role was. Last game, he played the Hewett role. Now, the Hewett role is really easy for Ed because it's 90% defending. The Kennedy role there, where you've got to shift from defence and then go back forward. And that's why Matty Kennedy is so underrated, because I don't think there's anyone on our list who can do Matt Kennedy's role, who can be strong defensively and offensively with a decent-ish kick. Thought he got found out. And it's all right. Yes, he played on Cornelio for a bit, but Cornelio spends half of his time with Diego on a yacht, so it doesn't count. He's not a real footballer. Poor from Ed. I expect more from a man of his integrity.
Fair. All right. So 4s, 4, 6, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6. I've got him listed as a 4. I think I'll keep it there for now.
I'm happy for you to keep it there, because he was brutal in the last 10. So
yeah,
maybe I was harsh.
Yeah, fair. Zac Fish. Oh, I needed to change this. Fish. Yeah, really interesting game. Something not there totally with him. I think he had to play a little bit more behind the ball, and he covered behind the ball a lot more than what I had seen in the past. I think with the Acre situation, maybe that was part of his day, but he didn't look assured in what he was doing. He didn't play with a conviction. I saw him out in space a few times, and he just didn't look really dialed in and zoned in on what he was doing. I don't know if there was a confusion around his role or if he's adjusting. I don't know what it is, but he's got to be better than that. He's a senior player now, I think, and hopefully he will.
First 2 practice games worried the shit out of me. Richmond really concerned me. Last week he bounced back. We're all excited. This week, I only gave him a 2, just so the chat know. There's a bit of a bounce here, but I gave him 1 vote for proving T can't coach, because he ain't a pocket forward, and he played Owies' role for a quarter and almost disappeared off planet Earth. It's a tough one with Fish, because I think when Walsh comes back, if you're going to splurt him through the midfield, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work with Walshy there. So I actually fear for him, because I don't know where he is. And when he was a high half forward, he didn't mark, 0 tackles inside 50. He didn't even look like he was going to try and tackle as well. He gave up on some of the chases as well, which I didn't like. It felt like he just didn't want to throw himself at the man. And I love Fish. I love the guy. He needs to do better, man. These are the games. Yeah. This is the game where every small forward looked good. This guy didn't.
Yeah, the element to his game which wasn't there, and I think in general is a layer for growth for him, is the way he hits a contest. And not everyone has to be Patrick Cripps. Not everyone has to be a brute. But I see Ollie Hollands hitting a contest a lot harder than what I saw Zac Fisher hitting a contest by comparison. I think Fish is strong enough to play, and actually I've seen him hit contests hard enough. Last year especially, I've seen him play with a bit more tenacity. So, yeah, I just thought he was a little off. And he's got to be much better, because, yeah. And then there's the other part of the conversation. I've seen comments, drop him, all good. But for who? Now, until Walsh and Cunningham and these other names who, are really talented, until they're actually back and playing in the side, this is what we have. I don't know who in the twos is knocking down the door that you say, all right, if you drop Fish, you bring X in. I don't know who that is yet. I don't know. But at the same time, yeah, we need him to be a lot better than what he was.
17 touches. I'll ask you this. This is my thing with Fisher. 17 touches. If I told you we had 17 touches, you would tell me you fucking noticed him. I didn't notice him for anything good this week.
Yeah.
And he's a man of caliber. I'd expect 17 touches. Oh, fuck. Fisher's had a day out at high half forward. And he wasn't great. Like Cottrell, Wowdy. Cottrell has 17 touches at that high half forward position. Cunningham, when he's fit, yeah, these are all brilliant names, but they're not fit. So to back Terry's point up, it's him or Honey. And I love Honey. I've got stocks. I've got 92% stocks because everyone's selling them. I wouldn't trust him just yet.
Yeah, no,
because he hasn't really earned it, but he might have to play.
I see a lot of 3s, 2s, and 1s here. So therefore, Zac, I'll drop him down to a 3. Might be a bit lucky, to be honest.
That's the Zac Fisher tax in action there, Terry.
I love Zac, but I know he can be better. Lachie Cowan. Pass. You went just below. I actually didn't take a note for Lachie Cowan. And he's competing. He's there. He's thereabouts. He's doing just enough. But he also just, it was just, I don't really have too much to say about his game. I don't know what to say about his game.
Oh, I mean, it wasn't brilliant. I'm going to be totally honest. And we know, again, another player I own a lot of stock in, this guy. But, I mean, it wasn't great. Do you know what I mean? Let's be honest. It wasn't his best. He only got beaten twice, though, by his man. One of them as well, he tackled them straight away and got them holding the ball. I'd like to see, again, like Saad, use your arsenals. Use your skills. And this week, it felt like there was times that Carlton chose Doc over him in that back pocket position. When you want someone to clear your lines, Doc with his stupid pirouette, bomb 90 meters in the air, ridiculous when you've got this guy who can hit it 65 kilometers an hour at head height and get it cleared. It's just okay. It's okay. Do you know what I mean? He didn't get beat too often. There's something there. I hate to say this, but maybe a bit of time in the Magoos, rack up 25, 30, and then come back. Maybe it's the time now. But I enjoyed his game. I love Cal. I love him.
Yeah. I think if he wasn't to playing, this is a situation where you have a solution. So you say, if you were not to play with Cowan, then you'd say, okay, maybe it is time for Kemp. But I don't know. I think it's give him another week. My sense is give him another week. I'm big on stability, and where we can avoid making changes, I'm a fan of it. I really am, and that's something we haven't got, because ultimately this group need more layers of trust with each other, and we can only really get that with continuity of the same people out there. So yeah, I'm not ready to drop him, but I thought it was just enough. And he's a first-year player.
I agree with you. I think Ollie Hollands and this guy need their ball more from their peers. Yeah. Because for me, if you want someone to clear your lines, why the hell is Doc shouldn't be in the conversation? This guy can kick the ball further than Doc's ever dreamed of. So I like him. I think his work rate, his ground ball gets, never seen anyone as tough and skillful.
Yeah.
It's tough who to bring in, though, because you can't bring Kemp in. Kemp's been trained as that intercept guy. So
true. True.
Ruined structure. I love him, though. I love him.
True. All right. I think we'll keep it at a 5 from what I can see in the comments. Next up, Pitto. 6 and 7 from you and I. You know what I love about Pitto? They don't put a stat for it. He literally just pushes people out of the way. It's amazing to watch. The way he does it in a way that's legal within the rules, and he just literally just creates a vortex around him and his midfielders. I'm such a fan of the way he plays, and he's only going at 54% game time. Probably needs to take a few more marks. He got his hand to a few and dropped them, But I also understand of the context of where he's at. He's not playing full game. He's playing half a game essentially, which I don't know. I don't know how it's going to look when he's playing at full capacity, but he's going all right.
I feel he's bizarre because I'm judging him for half the game. Let's be honest, like you say, we're judging him for half the game. Do you know what I mean? He took a really good contested grab, the one mark he took all game. I like that. He doesn't seem to be doing any work around the ground. It's literally he's just standing there winning taps. I thought he was miles above his peers. He was miles above. He's easily the number one. Easily the number one. Do you know what I mean? And tell you what, he just tosses players around for bants. I love this guy. Like, tell you what, if anyone ever owes me a lot of money, I'm bringing this guy with me because I reckon he'll ragdoll people.
I don't know the statistic. I don't know if you do. He had 22 hitouts from memory, 24. I don't know how many were to advantage, but I can think of at least 4 or 5 off the top of my head that went directly to a Carlton player. He's a good hit out to advantage ruckman.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting. 7 went to advantage, so not as many as you think. However, look then at how many we won. So there's a stat that we don't get, but what he does over TDK is how he clears the way for players like Cripps, Hewett to get to that source. He is incredibly good at stopping that ball get out. And there isn't a stat for that. That is why he is so smart. When he doesn't win it, he allows us to win it because he bodies players and gives them out numbers, which is why Carlton are so proficient in the centre with Pittonet than without him. So, yeah, mate, honestly, good observation. At times, though, Carlton just don't know how to rove to him. I do feel sorry for him because sometimes he puts it in the hot zone and Carlton have roved to God knows where. I love him.
So I can see, if I've counted it right, I think it's 8 6s and 8 7s. It's much of a muchness. We'll leave it at a 6 for now and
stiff.
Move on. Stiff? All right, fine. We'll go to 7. Fine.
I was gonna say you wouldn't dare give him a 6 if he was here. Neither would I, guys.
We'll give him a 7. Fair. You know what? Fair enough. Fair call. George Hewett. Yeah. Played with, I don't know, is the hand broken, cracked, bruised, stepped on? I don't actually know the full diagnosis of it, other than it's sore and sore enough to wear a glove.
Hand's definitely fucked. Let's be honest. Like, you could tell it was fucked. You could tell.
Yeah.
Like, there was times when he picked the ball up and you can see he instantly went to fend someone off and didn't. So it obviously, as we'd say back home, it's smarted. You could tell it's smarted. Some loose moments. He seems to have lost his handball ability because of his broken hand. Wasn't brilliant, but I'll tell you what, this was what he did because Carlton won the clearance numbers, they gained ascendancy, and it's his hard work that does that, him and Cripps. So I enjoyed it. I mean, Joseph nails it. Probably should be a 10, bearing in mind he played one-handed.
Fair with the context.
but I tell you what, I Paul nails it. He wouldn't be there if Kennedy was there. He was playing out of necessity, and I gave him a brownie point for he should be at home tucked up with a Horlicks and his wife. Instead, he was out there in a quagmire Mickey Mouse ground playing football, and he did well.
Yeah, that's a fair point. He's at the 20, gone at 80%. 11 of his 20 were contested. You know, these are examples of players that we now have in the group where if they're not at their best, they reach this minimum standard that is still at a relatively good level. He's a classic example of that. So, yeah, clearly playing hindered. I think I see a lot of 6s in the chat. So I think we're all there or thereabouts on the same track. So we'll keep him there. I just realized we missed Adam Cerra. Let's do Adam Cerra.
If you got rid of Fisher and players like that and gave me more Hewetts and Newmans, high ceiling players, fuck, we'd be good.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. All right. Adam Cerra. He is the subject of very diverse discussion around how people perceive him. So he's at his 28. He's gone at 85%. He's had 15 contested possessions, won 4 free kicks. I have a feeling people are trying to compare him to Walsh a bit, and we're wanting him to really, be outstanding. I think he's playing at a really consistent level, just consistent without being an all-star, without being an all-Australian type midfielder. He's just playing at a really high level, but not super high. No, I look at his game a little differently. What about you?
A 5. How do I validate it? Well, you know what I mean. He was probably a 3, in my opinion, until he went at halfback, and then I remembered me and Lekdog getting a lot of bollocks for saying, if you're going to give up pick 6, just remember he's really good at high halfback, and we've got 20 of them. And he does okay in the midfield. He does okay. And the reply was he's classy. Okay, well, he had 29 touches. What did the class do? Like, I think he's almost a role player in this side without Walsh. And I think that's good. We want role players, but then I think big contract, big trade. Do you know what I mean? Big trade for a role player. I expect a little bit more from him. The only reason I would give him more than a 5 is Doc finally went in the midfield, so we've got someone who gets the game moving. Because Cerra, for me, is the most guilty player in our midfield of when we win the ball, instead of going forward and looking to execute, which we know he's good at doing, he looks to handball back inside. He looks to keep it there, and I'd love him to have a plan B, which is kick the fucker as far away from here as possible. He doesn't have that, and that's why it was great. When he went down the back, probably won us the game, because I tell you what, I'd rather have him kicking out the back than Doc, because when you give him space and time, target, corridor, that's his position, and I'll stand by this. That is his position. High half back, doing what Zach Williams does. That is where you want him, in time and space, delivering the pill at his leisure. You want to use him intermittently on the ball. It's not his fault. Selection makes him play on the ball. But in fairness, do you know what I mean? That is what I'd expect from a man of his capability as a bare minimum.
Yeah. I agree with that. I like that. I look at him. Yeah, he's a classy player, and there was a narrative around that for sure. I think over this season, he's shown a little bit more willingness to play a bit more of a harder game style. I remember the contest late last week with Tanner Brun, the way he went in for that, copped the knock, started bleeding. And I just thought he was really strong in contest, and he seems to have been focusing on that a lot. His body's growing. You can see he's added a layer onto his body. I don't remember seeing him too much in open space in the middle, and that's probably why that move to halfback might have come. I do like, in theory, him with ball in hand coming out of halfback. In theory, I do like it. I don't know if I like it for 4 quarters, but also I need to see what it looks like when Walsh is back as well, because I think he's almost playing the way he would play if Walsh was in the team. So I can understand when you say, all right, Walsh is out of the team, we need a little bit more from Ches. But I think overall, the package, maybe if I isolate this game alone, he just does the simple things, and he just doesn't look to impose himself as much. But yeah, it was a solid game without being an outstanding game. So,
I take your point. 84 kicking efficiency. It's the sex, and a lot of that went up in the 4th quarter. He hits targets. Just for me, you've got to use him to his tools. 5, for me, a 5 is pretty good. But 29 touches, man. If you gave Walsh that in that game, you'd be all raving about him. You'd be saying, oh, Jesus, 3 Brownlow votes.
Of course.
I just felt it was very okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair. So
okay is good, though, people.
Okay, still good. Hey, we still won the game. So I see 6, 6, 6, 5, 7, 7, 8, 7, 7, 6, 6.5, 5, 7, 6. All right. I think 6 is the move. So 6 it'll be. Cerra from 7 to 6. Then the final player for the evening is Lachie O'Brien. So we both gave him a 2. I'll let you take this one away, mate.
Was a 1. Where do you start? The start, he missed the team bus. Do you know what I mean? Missed the team bus. I mean, we could end it there, really. End of show. Missed the bus.
There's everything.
In a game, for me, this is what I'm questioning O'Brien. And I said it about round 1. I know people got really excited about Lachie O'Brien round 1. And my big rebuttal about that was, all right, cool. But if you put Ollie Hollands out in space, which you never fucking did in round 1, he would have done that as well, as he's proven. If you'd put Akers, he would have done that. The big thing with O'Brien here is he was an absolute opportunity. He was an absolute gift horse. When you're good at running, people say he's the best kick in the team. Okay. Poor from his standards. And he's a senior player. He's a senior player now. He's not a baby. He's a pick 10. So he's not a mug. He's not a melt. And it just worries me about O'Brien because you start to see the things with O'Brien, the easy things, the misses. He missed some real simple targets as well. He didn't look like he was had any endeavour. And when people complain about O'Brien being contested, and I always say contested ball means fuck all for a winger, you saw the important bits of a contest, though, when the ball falls to you. And there was a few times the ball was just in front of him and he stuttered. He stuttered. Where Blake Akers and Ollie Hollands, proper footballers, just hit the target and go, you know what, I've got to get the ball. I don't want to. I'm going to get it. So maybe a bit of suffering from this messing about with the sub rule. I hate it. I think it should be 1 week as a sub, next week in the VFL, regardless of who you are. But I feel, my honest opinion, I think Luca nails it. Problem between his ears. I think last year he benefited from no one was in front of him. I actually feel him and Fisher are maybe suffering from competition. And they always say competition makes or breaks you. I feel like you might be seeing these players now get a little bit nervous from the competition and it affecting their play. And that says a lot about where they are as footballers, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. He just didn't seem fully ready and prepared. And forget about the team bus. I'm talking about, the lazy kick, 4 minutes to go in the third, turnover, Giants transition goal, the slipping. He slipped over a couple of times. I had written a note here. I don't know what exactly. I think it was a kick. Might have been going forward. Easy kick into our forward line. He just muffed it. And I wrote in the famous words of Spud Frawley, don't come Monday. And, it was just disappointing. He didn't take his opportunity at the end of the day. It was there for him. He is a senior player now. Yes, the sub might be messing with him a little bit, but be ready. I mean, what is it? You got to be ready. And yeah, I worry a little bit about him, but also he's shown before that he can persist through a challenge. He had a few challenges a few seasons ago, and we really didn't know if he was going to get another contract. He got through that. We're only 3 games into a season. It's a long damn season, but
Gav, do you remember that? The 50-meter. I remember getting excited in this very seat because I was like, come on, boys, this is it. And then he shanked the kick and then they kicked the goal on the way. And I was like, how have we got a 50-meter and we're 6 points worse? How? Exactly. It's little things like that. And like I'm saying, I actually think last year, Terry said it earlier, stability helps. Stability helps. Last year, he couldn't get dropped. Who were you playing? Me? Like, you know what I mean? I was next in line, brah. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? But now suddenly, and like, you know what? I reckon he'll look at the VFL game and Binsey played that role and he worked hard defensively. He worked hard offensively. Is he ready? I love Binsey. He's my boy. Probably not. But you know what? I'd rather have him in because that just concerns me, man. I love Lachie. I'm number 1 fan. it's piss poor, bro. If we want to be top 4, how I'm judging them, you've got to take that opportunity. Dunstan comes in for Melbourne, takes the opportunity. He makes it almost impossible to drop him. That was piss poor, man. Piss poor.
Yeah. He's got to be better, and hopefully he will. We know Akers is, at this point right now, he's suspended for a week, and he's got a sore shoulder. So we're under the roof, clean conditions, 6-day break. He's come on as a sub, pretty much played 3.5 quarters or 2.5 quarters. He came on from when I counted it, it was 15 minutes to go in the second quarter. So and I think he'll get a chance again this Friday, and he's going to need to do sort of what Jack Silvagni did in this game, because the questions are coming out for him, and he needs to perform. And welcome to pressure. And he's not a kid anymore, and he's capable. He's very capable. So,
mate, he needs what he did last year when he was dropped. Went to VFL. You saw he worked hard. Give him that. Oh, Brian, I love you. Don't say North is a danger game. Not on a Sunday, Bri. Come on, give me till tomorrow.
I will keep Lachie at a 2, and that'll be the player ratings for the evening. An hour and 20. We've dissected this game player by player. An hour and 20 live for one of the more regulation W's you'll get. Just, I guess it's done. Blue Abroad show tomorrow, but it was fun. I think we're getting a better flow.
Hey, we had loads of fun. I had incredible. This is my favourite time of the day. I actually like Sunday streams over Mondays. Just putting that out there for peeps.
I like Sunday streams as well, where it permits. I think we have quite a few Saturday games, so I like this mix. Saturday afternoon, you get your review done. Sunday morning, Sunday evening, you're still talking about the game. I like it. I like it a lot.
It's a lot easier as well when we're winning. I tell you, can you imagine doing a Sunday stream 2018? Just to give
2018.
Can you imagine 2018? Just an hour and 20 giving out 2s for Bants.
I know. We're frustrated with a win in 2023. 2 years ago, we were morbid. So we have come some way as a group, but we've still got a long way to go if we're talking about winning a flag. So we'll see.
And we've got Clarko this week, eh? Do you know what I mean? Everyone watch the Battle of Britain, watch the King hit, get the hatred flowing so we can smash these Roo boys.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing the first Danger Game comment this week.
You've already seen it.
Here?
Yeah, look, this man as well, this gentleman is my favourite as well, like one of my favourites. But look, Brian, he did it to me. He did me. I can't believe he did me like that.
Got him. He's calling it early enough. Fair. It could be. We don't know yet. But look, we'll talk about Friday a little bit tomorrow night, and obviously we'll preview it throughout the week. But for now, 9:23 p.m. Sunday, 2nd of April, 2013. That's it. Thanks for joining us for the play ratings. I hope you enjoyed it. Pommy, it's great to have you here, and we'll see you throughout the week.
Don't see you through the week. I'll see you through the
week. Bye, everyone. Go Blues.
Go on.